Amid this season of light and darkness, for that is what I've been calling it these last few weeks, Advent, Hanukkah, the winter solstice, all the ways we as a religious, faithful people stretch and expand into varied meaning making, or not, together. Atheists, theists, dancing it out. I just marvel over this. I marvel at what we're trying to do here. Hold and celebrate such varied difference. Wow. And yet still, amid this difference, different things that we need, disagreement, the multitude of meaning and identity, we here continue to look one another in the eye and say, your divine is mine, and mine is yours. We sing that in our closing postlude. Your people are mine, and mine are yours, we sing. I love Unitarian-Universalism. So much that I often get choked up and struggle to find the words to express how utterly in awe I am of it, the hope of it, what we are trying for. It is a faith I chose, and I continue to choose every day anew. At least I try to. And therein lies one of the many reasons I love this religion so much. It's a choice. It's my choice. I'm not the product of a Unitarian Universalist upbringing. I didn't learn about the tenets of world religions when I was in elementary school, or about the covenantal promises we make to one another amid disagreement. I wasn't offered a wide vocabulary of faith language. I wasn't aware of anything called coming of age programming, where we ask our 14, 15-year-olds to try articulating what they believe or the questions they might have about belief. I knew nothing of this. I sought much of it on my own without knowing I was doing it. I was always fascinated by religion and questions, philosophy, magic and divination, witchcraft. That was a big one for me when I was young. Astrology and the cosmos, symbols and myths. I was also fascinated by sacred sites, like temples and churches, but also those vortex places I would hear about, like the ones in the Southwest. When I went to college in Chicago, I remember sneaking into the back of a Catholic Mass on a Sunday just to see what it was they were doing in there. I remember watching people enter that sanctuary and dip their fingers into the holy water font and make the sign of the cross and then kneel before entering their pews. I would have called them benches at the time. I was mystified. I felt the same way when, on our way to the beach one Saturday, my dad suddenly pulled off and into the driveway and grounds of the Malibu Hindu temple, a massive, newly built at the time tower and place inspired by the grandest temples in India. Come on, Sophia, we can't just drive by this place. Look at it. Let's see if they'll let us in, he said. And we were asked to take off our shoes and to not step on any ants or bugs, because we were told that all living beings have a soul. And I can still smell the incense and see those colorful offerings laid out for their gods and goddesses and feel that cool marble under my little feet. I loved it. I don't know if I came into this life naturally curious about this stuff, or if it's because I had parents who were curious too, despite the harm that their religious upbringings brought to them. But both of them did see the value in stopping the car and derailing beach plans when you pass a 200-foot Hindu temple. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I think all of this shaped me. And I had no idea that there was a whole religion devoted to this kind of wide and roomy seeking and wondering. The first UU worship service I attended was in 2011. My husband, Jason, and I sat there with our mouths agape as the minister prayed to God, Goddess, Spirit of love and life, the ground beneath our feet, and then preached about Krishna, Buddha, Moses, and Jesus that Sunday. The many mystics and prophets who disrupted rules, he said, and disrupted that fixed, narrow thinking that the masses had in order to help people understand and experience the multitudes. Wow, we thought. I assumed at the time, as many do who are new to Unitarian Universalism, that this must be some new religion, maybe an outcropping of the 1970s New Age uprising or a 1960s make love, not war, question authority, psychedelic Kool-Aid acid test hippie church movement. That how in the world did this Californian miss that memo? But what a thing it was to discover that no, we Unitarian Universalists are not new on the scene. We've had skin in the game from the beginning, right alongside all the others, trying to figure out the nature of God, the nature of heaven and hell, the authority of religious institutions, the authority of the people, the intersections between and among other religions and traditions, the commandments of God, the names of God, the no names for God, how to be a good person, do justice, how to be in relationship with others, how to view life, how to contend with death. We've been trying to figure this out for thousands of years, right alongside everyone else. Many Unitarian Universalists trace our belief in a personal search for truth and meaning and the spark of divinity in us all back to the early theologians Origen and Arius, who were trying to make sense of that Jesus story. We're talking like 200, 300 Common Era in Egypt. But ultimately, it was the Protestant Reformation and then the Age of Enlightenment that brought Unitarianism and Universalism better into focus, where a flood of great and daring minds began to preach, teach, and write about the liberal religious values of freedom and reason and tolerance, a personal experience of God. Revelation independent from prescription or intermediaries like priests. And while our religion during those times still identified as a Christian one, a growing interest in world religion and spirituality began to reshape and expand and challenge our theology and thought. For surely, our faith's ancestors thought, surely there isn't just one way to God. And many of them were burnt at the stake for even whispering it. The American Transcendentalist movement in the mid to late 1800s, it further moved the needle from ruminating on the possibilities of rich theological diversity or just whispering about it, and moved us more towards articulating it more clearly, this seeking as a cornerstone of our belief and as the correct interpretation of the prophets. Seeking. Unitarian minister Reverend Thomas Wentworth Higginson in 1870 preached that the human soul, like any other noble vessel, was not built to be anchored, but to sail, and that all over the world, divine influence moves human beings. And we shall find in varying faiths, he preached, a symphony of religions. Some may stir like drums, others soothe like flutes, yet they are all instruments. Sacred scriptures, the magnificent liturgy of the human race. 1870. Now, the Unitarian and Universalist churches were still separate at this point. But this movement that unfolded over the rest of the 19th century and into the 20th really did become a swelling, barrier-breaking symphony of religious thought and personal experience. So much so that the two couldn't help but merge in the 1960s. And within this swelling, barrier-breaking symphony, they began to challenge other barriers, racial barriers, gender barriers, socioeconomic barriers, and the like. For if we believed that every human being was imbued with the elements of divinity, and that our individual search for truth and meaning wasn't just for some people, but for all, then the vision of a magnificent liturgy of the human race meant that some things were going to need to change. Some big things. And just as our churches struggled at the time to hold this radical experiment called the multitude of belief, so too did they struggle to fully break down those barriers. Our faith tradition is still wrestling with the glorious challenges of being a loving, healthy, united, covenantal community with diversity, pluralism, difference, particularity, and yes, discordance of identity, experience, thought, theology, and belief as its highest ideal. We are still struggling with this. And there's no roadmap here for what we're trying to do. We are literally building the plane while it's flying. And this is another thing I love about Unitarian Universalism. We are ancient, and we are also in our adolescence. And you know a thing or two about adolescence. It can be cranky and messy and volatile. Human beings tend to want easily defined, tried and true terms, policies, mission statements that keep things feeling safe and sound. These are good things. And disruptions to these things, the way we've always done things or run things or believe in things, are especially amid times of collective disorder, painful, and we resist them, even if we don't want to. But the thing is that we are not fixed peoples. You use, at least this is our hope, is that we are nimble peoples, and I'm looking around to some of my parish committee members, because this was the word of the night on Wednesday night. Let us be a nimble church. Help me to be a nimble minister. This is what this religion has always longed to be. Up with the times, alive. Not a destination church, but a journeying church. A symphony of religious thought and experience, which in my imagination looks and feels like a multitude of different dances happening on the floor. Varied-mindedness opposed to like-mindedness. A kaleidoscope of ways, kaleidoscope of needs and visions about how to do church and live a spiritual life. So long as all of this is grounded in love and right relationship, go for it, we say. Go for it. What a dance. Have any of you ever heard the jazz term in the pocket? See a thumbs up? Oh, okay. Okay. I learned about it from Cornell West, who I studied with in seminary. And he consistently would bemoan the ways in which society and culture, academic institutions, churches default consistently to deodorizing the funk, is what the funk in black music, he taught us, is the gloriousness of an honest, whole, human experience, the truth of being alive and divine in all our multitudes. Nothing deodorized about that. It's a wonderful mess. And real groove in black music is all about the funk, he would say. It captures something true and real and honest. And this is why it does something to us when we hear it. Groove, he would say, it doesn't need perfect time. In fact, groove can cease to be groove if it becomes too perfect and bound, because then there's no tension. The funk needs tension. In jazz improvisations and compositions, your musicality has to be superb. There's no doubt about this. And according to David Liebman, who toured with Miles Davis, you will never be a great jazz musician without looseness of personality. Or, as the great saxophonist Charlie Parker once said, you've got to learn your instrument, and then you practice, and then, when you finally get up there on the bandstand, you forget it and just wail. Just wail. Amen. Coming from you, that means a lot, dear Charlene. Wasn't sure how this one was going to go, but I'm not surprised at your amen. Charlene knows a thing or two about the funk and the groove. All right. According to the masters, the groove and the funk would leave the building if you knew with certainty where you were going. You are playing in the pocket when the magic happens. When a groove descends that tosses out all the training, all the expertise, all the knowing, all the clear direction, where the tension of discordance out of timeness descends and lifts, a multitude of feeling and expression dancing in and out of step with looseness and imperfection. That is when you are in the pocket. Undeodorized, transformative funk. And this, my good friends, is what I love about Unitarian-Universalism. We are working to achieve mastery in what it is we believe, take serious responsibility, for what this means in our lives, how it changes them, how it motivates us to courageously live out our well-articulated, serious faith in every nook and cranny of our lives and in the world, and we are working to be in the pocket with one another, with our ever-changing understanding of the divine, with ourselves. And we practice loosening here so that we don't find ourselves behaving like the stiff musician in the corner still trying to play the music as it is written while everyone else is wailing and grooving. The religious life is the groove. At least our magnificent liturgy is trying to be this. And what a thing, I might add, my dear friends, that beneath your very feet, under this thin layer of carpet, is a dance floor. On springs, no less, for this was a dancing hall once. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It still is. That's what I think. If you choose for it to be. I hope you will. I hope you have not found yourself too resolved about anything around here, or what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. If you're struggling to articulate that, good. Don't get too resolved about that. Or resolved in life. I can be resolved in life, or how I think things will turn out. I know how alluring resolve and certainty can be. Being nimble and grooving in the pocket, staying on your toes, it's unnerving because it disrupts the false comfort of certainty. For all those who struggle with control, I know this is a tough one. But I sense that you also know, because you're here, that certainty and control are perilous paths to walk. And I sense this is what you also love about Unitarian Universalism, or find so compelling about it. Carving new ways, being innovators, coloring outside the lines, marching to the beat of your own drums. We can do feeling uneasy. This church knows how to do this. We can do, I don't know where we're going, but we're going, and we're going to get there together. This church knows how to do this. This church has been shape-shifting and grooving, sweating it out literally and figuratively on this dance floor with a gazillion different ideas and beliefs and people for nearly 400 years. You've been doing this. And these days when the world feels so terrifying, I draw a lot of hope from this. It's a lot of people. I don't know if it's really a gazillion, but I draw a lot of hope from this church about how to not just weather things, but move with them as one strong body made up of 100 songs. You've taught me that, and 100 dance moves. That, as I said at the top of worship, I'm so grateful that you continue to teach and teach me about. I do draw a lot of hope from this, and I hope you do too. I hope you do too. And I want to return to the words of Theodore Roszak, who writes, "You and I, we meet as strangers, each carrying a mystery within us. I cannot say who you are. I may never know you completely, but I trust you are a person in your own right, possessed of a beauty and value that are the earth's richest treasures. So I make this promise to you. I will impose no identities upon you, but will invite you to become yourself without shame or fear. I will hold open a space for you in the world and defend your right to fill it with an authentic vocation. For as long as your search takes, you have my loyalty. And to that I say amen. And blessings to each of you on this, our wild and wacky, functified, chosen journey.